So I have to tell you this. If you've ever been to the beach with me, you know this. I hate cold water. I hate it. It's just like, hey, Jeff, you want to go play in the sprinklers? No. Because sprinkler water is what? Always. It doesn't matter if it's 146 degrees outside. Sprinkler water is always cold. Hey, Jeff, you want to go swimming? Is the heater on? Because any water under about 78 degrees, no deal. Now, some people, how many of you, you're like, I could be a polar bear. I love the cold water. I don't mind it. You are one of these people who you get to the beach and you just go charging into the water. You're lunatics. You're absolutely crazy. Now, how many of you are like me, where you're like, yeah, not so much of the cold water? How many of you have a hard time deciding? You're like, hey, it depends on the day. It depends on how. Now, I tend to be a tiptoer inner. This is me getting into any body of water larger than a puddle on the street. All right, this is me. I'm just like, okay, no way, I'm not going in there. And I can make a decision whether I'm going in the water or not based on that much exposure to the water. Not today, no. There are other times it's like, maybe, and I'll go stand on the step. We've got a pool at my house, and it's like, I'll go stand on the step and be like, oh. And then you go like one more step down, and you're like, oh. And then your body gets numb up to about your knees, and then you sort of, and am I wrong? But are all pools designed where it's like, okay, your ankle, your knees, halfway up your stomach, right? There's no in-between step. It's like, come, all right, I feel like I'm pretty good. Whoop. Right? And at that point, it's usually too late. I won't chicken out. At that point, I'll just get in the pool, or I'll be standing on the step, and my now 13-year-old son, who's nearly as strong as me, will like push me into the pool. So if at any point you don't see Carter anymore, you'll know what happened. Oh, Carter pushed Jeff in the pool, right? But there are those of you who are the diver-inners, right? You're just like, woo, water! You know, you don't care if you see icebergs floating around in the water. You're like, yes, liquid! Yeah. And you just go jumping right in. And I do envy the people at the beach who can be in the water. Because the other thing that I don't like is just baking in the sun. Because with my skin, I come in two designer colors. Ghost white and lobster red. There's no in between. There's not like, ooh, look at my coconut oil tan. No, it's like, hey, see-through guy, right? That's just, and so if I'm not in the water, that means I'm just sitting on the beach cooking, right? But I look out in the water and I see the people at the beach just going for it. And they're just loving the water and they're fully, just engaged in what's going on. And I'm like, I'm not fully experiencing that. Now, getting in the water is something where there are a couple different ways to do it. You can tiptoe in, and it can be fine. And there are some people who are fine with just sitting on the edge of the pool, right? With their feet dangling in. They talk to the people that are in the pool. But who's really experiencing the pool? The people in the pool or the people sitting on the edge of the pool? People in the pool are experiencing. Who's really experiencing the beach? All of you who are crazy enough to go in the shark's home, or the people that are sitting on the beach? The people who are doing both, right? Is the people that are in the water, but then, they come out and bake under the sun. But there are some things in life, and this is what we're going to talk about today. There are some things in life where to half commit is useless. In fact, to half commit can be more damaging than fully committing. Imagine if a doctor goes into surgery and goes, all right, we're going to remove this person's spleen. Don't ask me what a spleen is. I'm not a doctor. And the doctor cuts you open, takes out your spleen, and just goes, ooh, blood. Icky, 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 and just walks out of the room. problem going halfway, right? If you go to school and you go up to 10th grade and you're like, that's enough, and just stopped going to school. Not a good idea, right? Right? You're all supposed to say, right, Jeff, we're going to see it all the way through 12th grade, right? So there are some things that we can't do halfway. We're going to do a little activity right now. Now, I need as many volunteers as are willing to do this. The only volunteers that I would say could have a hard or would have a problem with this and probably shouldn't do this activity is if you have a dress on. All right, so if you have a dress, you can be one of the necessary observers of this. So if you are willing to volunteer and you're going to like, this is a good challenge, I need you to stand up and come over here. Right here. Come right back here. Everybody else, if you're not going to do this, turn your chair around right where you're at. Now, this is called a circle sit. Here is how this works. I need you to stand behind a person just like this. You need to be pretty close, okay? You need to be right here, not hugging, okay? And we are going to go around in a circle, all right? So you need to kind of curve the circle, okay? You're going to go around. We need to make a complete circle, okay? Why don't, Sarah, can you come right here? Yes. And can you come right here? And can you come right here? You're not too small. All right, circle. All right. You got to be real close. If you're not real close, this isn't going to work. All right. You've got to get real close. All right. Here. All right. All right. Now get tighter then. Does anybody else want to do this? Now that you see this? Luke, come over here. James, you should come do this. Come on. Guys, anybody else? Anybody else? Ben can do it. Come on. All right. So, now the way this works, can we get this on camera? Sorry. Is that right? All right, here we go. Now, what's going to happen, you need to be directly behind the person in front of you, all right? You need to, like, seriously be right behind. Now, when I count to 3, no, you can't scoot up, like scoot in. If you have too much space, scoot in. Okay, now, when I count to 3, you are going to sit down. Now, I'll just tell you ahead of time, if anyone hesitates or doesn't just sit down, you're all going down. I'm just telling you right now. So make sure that you're right in back of the person in front of you, and all you have to do is just go like this. 100%. And just sit down. All right? Just sit down. Don't try and hold yourself up with your legs. Don't try and hold yourself up. Just sit down. Okay, you ready? Now, how many of you think they're going to get this the first try? Oh, they don't trust in you at all. Okay, here we go. Ready? Oh, and just for clarification, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, sit. Okay? Okay, here we go. I said just for clarification. That wasn't right. All right, here we go. You ready? You got to scoot in a little bit. Okay, here we go. Some of you I don't think are close enough. You guys got to scoot in a little bit. Scoot in a little bit. There you go. You've got to be close. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, sit. Okay. Stand up. Everybody stand up. Stand up. Now, get back close together again. This side of the circle was close. This side of the circle was close. Now, some of you, hey, listen, some of you went like this. 1, 2, 3. You don't have to jump on the person behind you. Just sit down. Just a nice, easy sit. All right, here we go. Try it again. So not a fall, not like a fall. Don't fall on them. Just sit down. Yeah. All right, here we go. I think you guys need to scoot in some more. Scoot in a little bit more. All right, here we go. Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Oh, I think you're, okay. Okay. No, you're not going to be able to do that. You got to sit because they need someplace to sit. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, sit. Mackenzie, where are you sitting? Close, close. All right, stand up. Mackenzie, you've got to turn a little bit. Okay, yeah, don't sit down on the ground. All right, we're going to give them one more try. All right, here we go. Here we go. One more try. Last try. Last try. All right, here we go. Now, sit on the legs of the person behind you.
That makes so much more sense.
Okay? Sit down on the legs of the person in front of you. All right, behind you. All right, here we go. Max, you're going to miss. There we go. All right, here we go. Come on, you guys can. Oh, I think you got to scoot in more. You got to scoot in. You got to make it tighter. All right, here we go. 1. Now, go slow and easy. 1, 2, 3, sit. You're not sitting. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Oh, close. All right, give them a big hand for trying that. Now, I wanted to do that because it's going to make my point either way. And you guys tried it at first, and at first no one really committed, and then, okay, well, we'll try it. But the circle sit only works if everybody commits. If one person decides, this isn't really for me, the whole circle goes down. If one person doesn't trust that the person behind them is going to be there for them, it doesn't work. It takes full commitment. It's one of those things that takes absolute commitment. You can't do it halfway. And what we're going to talk about these next 2 weeks, this week and next week, is this idea of diving into our faith. And the reality that some of us think that we're being okay, just sort of tiptoeing around, just sort of, I come to youth group, maybe come to youth group sometimes. I do things, I'll talk about my faith if I have to. And you sort of feel like, hey, that's what Christianity is. It's just sort of calling yourself a Christian. Others of you are in a place in your life where you're understanding now more than ever that, wow, being a Christian is more than just calling myself a Christian, and it's not easy. You've got people in your life who are maybe giving you a hard time about it, or you find yourself absolutely surrounded by people who just have no care about God or who God is or what God wants, and it's hard to be that person that really dives in. And yet, us fully committing to our faith, us fully committing to a relationship with Jesus is the only way it really works. You can call yourself a Christian. You can say, I love Jesus on Sundays and Wednesdays and Tuesdays. But if you don't have that commitment with Jesus, you're going to find yourself in school going, why do I feel so lost? Why do I feel so overrun by everything around me? You're going to find yourself in a time of your life where things are hard and going, why does it, I thought, at church they told me God loved me, and at church they told me that God is going to be with me, but it doesn't seem like it. And I'll tell you, there are times that we go through dry spells where we're just like, man, God's hard to hear, and I don't know what's going on, and God can teach us some things through those times. But I also know that there have been a whole lot of times in my life that my disconnect from God was because of me. My disconnect from God is because I wanted God when it was convenient for me. I wanted God just when I really needed him, but the rest of the time I could handle it. And I wasn't diving in. I was not experiencing all that God has for me. And guys, it's still something that I have to keep on my heart and in my mind, because it's still so easy to be like, oh, well, I work at a church. Check. I'm a youth pastor. I pray with students and hang out. I must love Jesus. Check. But if my heart is not chasing God, if I am not pursuing a relationship with Jesus, then it's just me calling myself a pastor. It's just me calling myself a Christian. And it ends up being really empty. And so I want to look at a verse where Jesus himself tells us exactly, well, what does it mean to be a Christian? And maybe you're here this morning and you're not a Christian. You're like, I just come because my parents come to church and I'd rather sit in here and be bored than sit up there and be bored. And so and you aren't at a place where you have faith. Maybe you're here this morning and you grew up in church and you're like, I am a church pro. I know all the moves, I know all the words, and I've got it down. And for both sets of people, what Jesus is going to explain here is something that lays out, gives us a picture of this is what it is to be a Christian. So if you're not a Christian here and you've been looking around and you have this idea that a Christian is just somebody who goes to a building on Sunday, but then Monday through Saturday lives any way they want, talks any way they want, well, this is going to give you an idea that maybe that's not what a Christian really is supposed to be. Or maybe you're here and you are a Christian and you've been feeling like, really? Is this all Christianity is? Just come to church? Let Jeff or Carlo lecture me for a little bit and sing some songs? And either way, what Jesus said, is so important for us because it gives us an idea of so much more that is available to us. So, Mark chapter 12. This is Jesus talking. And he had been teaching in a crowd of people. And it says this, one of the teachers of the religious law was standing there listening to the debate. He realized that Jesus had answered well, so he asked, of all the commandments, which is the most important? Jesus replied, the most important commandment is this, listen, O Israel. So he says, listen, O Israel, because this is something, he's quoting scripture from the Old Testament. This is something God has been telling his people for generations. Listen, O Israel, the Lord our God is the one and only Lord. And you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. The second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. No other commandment is greater than these. So, first, Jesus says, there is one God. Why does he need to point that out? What do you think his intention was in pointing that out, Nick?
Some other religions have like multiple gods and goddesses, and
Sure.
just to make sure that people know that there's only one God.
Yeah, our generation today is not the only generation that has a bunch of religions and has a bunch of ideas of what God is. And so Jesus is going, look, there is one God, the one true God. There is also, just like today, the opportunity that people had to treat other things as their God. It may not have been a statue that they would bow down to, but it was something that divided their loyalty. So there was no way. See, Jesus is about to say, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, all your strength. Well, if you're worshiping other things, it's impossible for you to worship any of them with all of anything, right? Because it's divided. And so Jesus is pointing out there is one God. There is one who should be the ruler of your heart. There is one thing that should be the priority of your life. And as soon as there are other things, as innocent as it may be, as soon as there are other things that you would say, man, that is the most important thing. Or man, if I don't get to do that, I'll die. How many times have you said that in your life? Oh my gosh, if I don't get that new thing, I'm going to die. Right? All of us have in some way. If you haven't said it out loud, you've thought it. Right? Oh my gosh, if I don't make this team, I'll die. Anything else, anything we put before God is a God in our life. So Jesus right here says, look, there is one God. And if we are serving anything else, then we cannot serve God with all our heart, all our soul, all our mind, and all our strength. Now, this is where it gets tricky. Because, like I said, it's not necessarily some fat Buddha statue that you're bowing down before, and you're not necessarily sitting in your room cross-legged going, trying to access your inner chakra and do all these kinds of things. You're not looking for the nearest church of Satan to go in and worship the devil. And so it's easy for us to go, no, one God, I'm good. How about the God of popularity? How tempting is that God? Has been for me. How about the God of new stuff? That new thing we've got to have so that other people will be impressed with us, or so that we can have the new toy. That can certainly be a God that we worship. Or what about the God of perfection? Where we live our lives in a way where we're just going, I've got to be a people pleaser. I can't make any mistakes. I have to look good for everybody. I have to just, don't argue, don't fight, don't just. Could that be a God that you worship? For sure. There can be so many things that would divide our loyalty, so that instead of seeking God and going, God, what do you want for my life? Instead, we're going, I have to do this for my life. I have to do this for my life. I have to do this for my life. God, what is it that you want to do in me to bring me joy and to bring me peace? I have to have this. I have to have this if I'm going to be happy. I have to have this if I'm going to have peace. And all of a sudden, we are, as we hear what Jesus says, there is one God. If we really check our hearts, what are the gods that are in your heart? What are the things in your life that you are seeking? And like I said, it's not that they're evil things. It's not that there's stuff that God says, you must not be part of school swim team. You must not be part of the art club. God's not saying that. But when we begin to commit our heart to things, it becomes an issue of having more than one God. And these things can distract us. And then Jesus follows up. Loving God with our whole being, with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. Man, you guys, that is so hard. Do you think we could ever do that perfectly? I think there's any way that at some point in our life we could be like, I'm giving God all my heart, all my soul, all my mind, and all my strength, and everything we do is 100% perfectly focused on Him? It's not. So for those of you who have performance anxiety, or this need to be perfect and this need to get it right and please everyone, you're never going to be able to do it. The point is not for us to be perfect. The point is not for us to be good Christians that just everybody looks at and can't find any fault in anything that we do. It's a heart issue. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, first and foremost. Give Him your heart, and that then directs your mind and your soul and your strength. So it's not saying don't be involved with anything. It's not saying, hey, just sit around and pray all the time. It's saying whatever you do, allow God to be the Lord of it. There is one God. And you're to love Him with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. And then He follows that up with love your neighbor as yourself. The two greatest commandments: love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. A heart that is fully sold out for Jesus. A heart that is fully given to living for God. You're not going to do it perfect. It's not a life without sin or temptation or any of that. But a heart that is sold out for Jesus, going, God, I want you to be in my school day. I don't know how that looks. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But God, give me a heart that is ready for the opportunities that you're going to give me. Are we even asking God for that? You should. But be ready because he will. And a heart that is fully sold out for God is going to be incapable of keeping that to themselves. A heart that is fully sold out for God is going to be so bored if they're just like coming to youth group. Because there is no way we can entertain you to the level that God wants to grab onto your heart. But man, if your heart is sold out for God, you're going to come here and God, whether it's here or at your school or at your house, and God is going to move and is going to do things in your life that you never thought possible. And you're not going to be able to keep it in. And suddenly, this love your neighbor, by the way, your neighbor, anybody know, how would you define neighbor?
Someone who lives next to you.
Someone who lives next to you is certainly a neighbor. What else? Anything else? Is it just your next door neighbor? Yes? No?
The people that surround you.
The people that surround you. Anybody that God brings into your path. Okay? Anyone that you come into contact with, God is going, love them. Now, is 100% of the people that you come into contact lovable? No, there are some real jerks out there. Completely. You're like, I do not want to love them. They are not worth my love, and I will not love. But a heart that is sold out for Jesus, he calls us to love them, which means we need him somehow to move in us in a way that allows us to love our neighbor. Because some of our neighbors are not lovable. Guess what? Sometimes you're not very lovable. I don't want to offend you, but it's true, right? There are times that I am not lovable. Sometimes it's more often than not, right? But a heart that is sold out for Jesus, someone who's loving with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength, is going to love their neighbor. So, love the Lord with all you are. And love the people around you. Which one of these things is a sit back and do nothing activity? Which one? Neither of them? Do you say neither or neither? How many neithers? Neithers? Okay. Well, neither of them. Neither of these things is a sit back, just sort of hang out and watch what happens kind of a thing. Jesus was asked, what is the greatest what? Try it again. Jesus was asked, what is the greatest? Commandment. Command this. You must do this. It's one of those things where, I'll paraphrase, stop calling yourself a Christian if this is not what you're interested in doing. Got kind of serious, right? Stop calling yourself a Christian if all you care about is yourself, because it's not what God calls Christians to do. Stop calling yourself a Christian if you are only interested in achieving your own dreams, your own thoughts, your own plan, and you have no interest in even being available to something God may lead you to. The two greatest commands that we were given through Jesus restated this. Love the people around you and love God with all you are. There was a time in my life of quite a few years where my attitude toward this was, and I have to tell you, in case you don't know, I grew up in church. I grew up in a Christian home. My parents are wonderfully faithful followers of Jesus, and so I had a good example. And I heard all the stories, and I listened to all the Bible teachings and all these things. And yet somehow when I got into my teenage years, I started to have this attitude of, well, God knows where I am. If he wants me to do something, he can find me. Well, I'm a nice guy. I don't have to be nice to everybody. I don't have to, care about everybody's feelings and care about how to take care of people who are, homeless people probably deserve to be homeless. People in need, people who are hurt, probably did something dumb. Oh, but I love Jesus. I'm a Christian. And I had this attitude of it was all up to God to come and get me and to shake me hard enough and tell me exactly what to do. And it was soon after high school that God began to do some work in my heart that he continues today, of realizing that it is not about me getting to just go live my life however I want. Being surrounded by people who are lost and broken and hurt and saying mean things about people and engaged in activity that is killing them, and me just sit back and just kind of be like, well, it's up to them. At that point in my life, God, even if God had spoken to me from a burning bush, Jeff, you need to start living for me. You need to. I would have been like, yeah, okay, God. Just let me know. And would have just continued doing what I wanted to do. But I love Jesus. Love the Lord with all you are. And love the people around you. Each one of you in this room has a decision to make. Are you going to commit? Or are you not? Because the walking the fence thing doesn't work. And I don't have the reference up here, but in Revelation, it says this. I wish, this is God speaking, I wish that you were either hot or cold, because the lukewarm of your faith makes me want to vomit. Do you know God said that? I'd rather you be hot or cold, because if you're cold, at least you're not faking it, and at least you're not giving people this idea that this is what a Christ follower is. And that was something that just resonated in my heart of going, Jeff, knock it off. Stop thinking that being nice equals being Christian. Stop thinking that going to church means being Christian. I'd rather you be hot or cold, because the lukewarm makes me vomit. Man, I don't want to make God sick to his stomach. I don't want to be the reason that God looks bad to other people. And like I said, there are going to be things that you do, you're going to blow it. So please hear me. I do not want to be talking like this and give you this anxiety like, oh my gosh, I have to be this perfect person. I can't make God throw up. I can't make any mistakes. No, that's why we have grace. That's why God goes, look, you are forgiven. You are loved. You are mine. Seek me and you'll find me. Live for me with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. And then when you're a knucklehead, you get grace. You get unconditional love and unconditional forgiveness. Because I love you. But each of us has a decision to make, whether we're going to fully commit or not. Which means that it matters how you talk. The language that comes out of your mouth, and I'm not just talking about swear words. I'm talking about the jokes you tell, the way that you talk about people, your attitude and the tone in which you say things. If you are a Christ follower, if you're going to commit to Jesus, it matters. It matters how you treat people. For you to call yourself a Christian because you come to youth group and then turn around and go to school and make fun of that girl for the way that she dresses, and make fun of that guy because he's not any good at sports, and make fun of that guy over there because he's got acne, and make fun of that girl over there because she's kind of clumsy, and make it... It matters how you treat people. And guess what? Christ followers who are fully committed, it matters how you stand back and let people do that. How you just let it happen. In your presence, you hear people talking bad about, and I don't want to be the one that says anything. I want to challenge you to check your heart. And it doesn't mean you have to be like, hey, all you sinners, stop talking like that. I'm saying you're probably hanging around with friends, people who would call you their friend. Are you friend enough to stop them in a loving, kind, and gentle way? And it matters the things that you take part in. It matters that the crowd that you run in and the things that they're doing seem okay with you. Like, oh yeah, I know Sally goes to church on Sundays and Wednesdays, but yeah, she also hangs out with us while we drink. Yeah, Steve, I mean, I know he's a Christian, but when we go out and we vandalize stuff, man, he can break things like the best of them. It matters. You guys, it matters. We don't get to just sit back and do nothing. Christianity and complacency are at odds. Complacency is that attitude of just like, I'm going to sit back and what happens around me happens around me. Oh, God, he knows where to find me if he wants me. Until then, I'll just kind of do what I want to do. Christianity and complacency are at odds. They don't work together. Which means you've got to commit to one thing or the other. And my hope is that you will commit to Jesus. Because he offers what your friend group can't offer. He offers what your hobby can't offer. And he wants to give you a life that is so full you can't even imagine it. He wants to give you peace and hope and joy that you can't fabricate, that you can't get from Disneyland. He wants to give you life. So I'm going to close in prayer. And the band's going to come back up and we're going to sing a couple songs. And I want this to be a time where you consider in your heart where you're at. Because if you reject God, guess what? He'll let you reject him. If you say no to God, he'll let you say no to him. But if you say yes to him, if you say, yes, God, I want the life that you have for me, it may look different than the life that you have in mind for yourself. And it will mean stepping up and living sold out faithfully for him. See, while it may be fine to dangle your feet in the pool, to kind of tiptoe into the ocean only up to your shins and just sort of stand there, that's not swimming. That's not diving in. Our faith cannot just be sort of this thing we tiptoe around. So God, my prayer right now is that you would make this real to each of us because we all tiptoe. Every one of us has failed to live fully for you, to love you with all our heart, all our soul, all our mind, and all our strength. We have all failed to love our neighbors the way you've called us to. And so I pray right now over every student. I pray over their schools, over the friendships that they have. And God, that you ask that you would show them how they can live fully for you. Give them the opportunities to stand up, to be committed for you. Give them the courage to not just sit back, but to step forward and make your name known and make the changes in their life that are not of you. God, we need you to do this because this can't just be about us trying hard. So show us what this means, God, and lead us toward you.